We're right now about 14 days, 2 weeks until the bar exam. And I know that this is a time of great activity, certainly some stress, and I think a little bit of fear for most people. Hopefully, you're beginning to transition, though, out of fear into confidence and anticipation and excitement about the exam. In my message to students today, I talked about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is the theory or the science of learning. You might be thinking to yourself, why in the world do I want to hear about more science of learning when I'm trying to learn the rule against perpetuities or the hearsay exceptions? I think if you can get a little bit of a perspective on what the process is that you've been going through and the process you will go through over the next couple of weeks, it's reassuring to most people. So I hope you'll stay with me for a couple of minutes. Now, regardless of what skill you're learning, whether it's the bar exam or learning to drive a car or play the piano or do anything that requires new abilities, new skills, we know that there are four stages of learning that are going to occur, and they can be broadly grouped. I'll give you those groupings and then tell you a little bit about how I think they play out in this context. Almost everyone has to go through all four of those groupings. In other words, you can't just start at zero and go to 100 all at once. So here are the stages. The first stage in any endeavor where most people start is what we call unconscious incompetence. And it just sounds, you're so stupid, you don't even know that you're stupid. You are totally lost. And to use the example of learning to drive a car, this is the person who says, I can drive. It must be easy. I've played Xbox and I can do it. It's easy. Anybody can drive a car. We call this unconscious incompetence. And frankly, it's where most people start. A lot of people begin their bar studies thinking I went to law school or I practiced law or I've taken a bar exam before or I know people who have taken bar exams and it can't be that difficult. Pretty sure that most of you are now well past unconscious incompetence. The second stage of learning a new skill, however, is very uncomfortable. It's called conscious incompetence. Now, conscious incompetence is when you become profoundly aware that you don't know enough about whatever that skill is. When you realize that you're not a good driver, suddenly you're freaked out. It's your first day in driver ed, and the teacher says, go ahead and accelerate onto the highway, and you're terrified and you're looking at the mirror and pressing the brake and checking your side mirrors and going crazy. In the bar, this really is that moment when you begin to do some testing or pre-testing, or you write your first essays or performance tests, and you begin to realize that, in fact, it's a harder task than you expected. And you're now confronted with what you don't know. Or you did a series of multiple choice questions for the multi-state, and you realize, wow, I really don't know this subject of the law very well. It's a very unpleasant place to be. And the people who go to the bar exam with conscious incompetence are going to fail. They know they're going to fail. There's nothing pretty about it. It's ugly. You'll see them sitting outside the room waiting to go in and take the test, and they're frantically scribbling or highlighting or reading from notes. They're conscious of their incompetence. And if that's where you are on exam day, you're in trouble. Some of you may be consciously incompetent today and aware of it, obviously, and saying to yourself, is it too late? And the answer is no. You can move beyond that second stage into the third stage, and it's an important stage. Stage three is called conscious competence. It's the point at which, with great focus and attention, you can do competent, or we can translate that to passing work for the exam. Conscious competence, when you are talking about learning to drive a car, was the day you got your driver's license. If you're like me, that day was not anything sterling in terms of your ability, but it was a pretty exciting day because you got the license. And the point was that when you focused and paid attention and did exactly what you had been taught to do, you could be a competent driver. Does that mean you were a good driver? No. Does it mean you'll be a good lawyer the day you take the bar exam and pass? Probably not. But it does mean that you're competent, and competency is passing. It doesn't mean great, but it means passing. How do you get to competency? You do that by being focused, by being aware, all the things that we've been talking about, and certainly in our course, been teaching as you go along. But the key right now is that if you feel like you're at stage two of conscious incompetence, you need to simply move yourself to conscious competence. That is, being aware, taking the steps, learning to write, learning the weak areas, progressing in the things that you need to learn so that you can become consciously competent. And then on test day, you have to be conscious. You can't freak out. You can't flip out. You can't lose consciousness and zone out and say, gee, I just don't know what happened. I fell asleep for 6 hours during the day. That won't work, obviously. So conscious competence is really the minimum threshold that you need to learn a new skill and to be able to master it or apply it under those test conditions. But it's not the fourth stage or the final stage of learning a new skill. The fourth and final stage is what we call unconscious competence. Unconscious competence is essentially nothing other than habit. It's when you can do something and you don't have to think about it. It's just what you do. Think about our driving example again. If you've been driving a car for any length of time, my guess is that these days you can drive the car, get on the phone, listen to music, check the mirrors, do the nav system, maybe put on makeup, and that would apply to anybody these days, switch lanes, and you're on the interstate at 85 miles an hour. You probably couldn't have done that the day you got your driver's license, at least not with any degree of safety at all. And the reality is it's simply become habit. In fact, many of you who are watching today can't even remember how you got to where you are today. You just got here. You were thinking about the bar exam. It was so unconscious and habit that you didn't think about it. Or the way you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth the one way using your right hand or your left hand, or there's a certain order of things that you don't think about them, you just do them. In the bar exam, unconscious competence or habit is when you've learned how to write an essay and you know how to do it every single time the same way. It's when you know how to take multiple choice questions and you do them the same way, what principles of law to look for. It's when you understand the testing process and you know what you have to do for that test, whatever it might be. Is it necessary to have unconscious competence in order to pass the bar exam? Emphatically, I want to say the answer to that is no. You don't need to have a habit. Now, it's great if you can reach that. If you're already doing competent work, your goal over the next 2 weeks should be to try and get to unconscious competence. In other words, to make passing quality the habit, the thing that you always do no matter what. It's simply a better way to function. It'll be easier for you during the days of the bar exam. But most people who go to the test, candidly, will not be in stage 4 of the learning. They'll be in stage 3. And that's perfectly acceptable. Stage 3 will pass the bar exam, just like stage 3 passed your driver's license test. Later, you could get better at being a lawyer. If you stay in the bar exam industry long enough, you can get pretty good at taking bar exams. But that's not really the goal here. The goal is simply to pass in 2 weeks. And you can do that. The reason that I talk about these stages of learning with 2 weeks to go is that I think you can take a few minutes right now and think about where you are with respect to your multi-state or multiple choice test question preparation. Ask yourself, where am I in this process? Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Most of you are probably between stages 2 and 3, and that's okay. Now you want to move yourself into this conscious competence level. The same thing for your essay writing or your performance test writing. Look at where you are and look at where you need to get in order to pass the exam. If you do that, I think you'll have a roadmap that can lead you very nicely through the next couple of weeks. I'll be back a few more times as we get closer to the exam to help lay out some more of the steps in that roadmap. But keep that broad concept in mind. I think it'll help you a great deal as you study over the next couple of weeks and as you move towards a goal of conscious or unconscious competence. Have a great study day.